The house had finally grown quiet after the long family dinner. Claire wiped her hands on a kitchen towel and glanced at the clock. It was past 10, and everyone else had gone to their rooms. The soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside were the only interruptions in the calm. She felt a rare stillness settle over the house. One of those moments where time slows and you notice every little sound. Her son, Ethan, was on the couch, slouched slightly, his hands resting on his knees. He stared at the window as though the world outside held some secret meant only for him. Claire felt a twinge in her chest. He was almost 17, and lately she had noticed subtle changes in him, small things, like how he lingered over conversations or looked at her in a way that suggested he was thinking more than he let on. "Mom." His voice broke through the quiet. It was low, careful, almost hesitant, like he was testing if the words would land safely. Claire turned to him, brushing a few strands of hair from her face. "Yes, Ethan?" she asked, trying to keep her tone light, even though something in the way he said her name made her pulse quicken. He looked down at his hands and twisted the edge of his sleeve nervously. "Do you ever feel like things are changing and you don't know how to stop it?" Claire's heart skipped. She could sense that this wasn't casual teenage chatter. There was a weight to it, a depth she hadn't encountered before. She moved to sit beside him, keeping a gentle distance, not wanting to crowd him, but wanting to be near. "I think change is part of life, Ethan," she said softly. "Sometimes it scares us, but it's something we can't control entirely. We just have to live with it and figure it out as it comes." He swallowed and looked at her, and for the first time that evening, she saw something new, a kind of longing, a fragile curiosity that went beyond normal teenage restlessness. "I feel like I'm seeing everything differently now, and I don't know how to tell you, or if I should." Claire felt a strange mixture of pride and unease. Her son was growing up, becoming his own person, and yet there was a vulnerability in him tonight that she couldn't ignore. It was subtle, almost unspoken, yet it made her want to hold him close, reassure him, protect him, but without smothering him. "What is it, Ethan?" she asked, her voice gentle, inviting him to share. He hesitated, then spoke quickly, as if afraid to take too long. "I don't want us to be just mom and son sometimes. I want more. I want your attention, in ways I can't explain. I don't know how to say it properly." Claire's mind raced. She understood his need for connection, for closeness. She reached out and lightly touched his arm, a gesture meant to comfort. "Ethan, I hear you. I do. We've always been close, but I understand you're feeling something more. That's okay. We'll figure it out together." He looked down, fidgeting with his hands. "I feel lonely sometimes, even when the house is full. I just want to feel close to you, like really close, the way we used to be before everything changed." Claire's chest tightened. She had always noticed the way he sought her attention, subtly small touches, lingering glances, quiet conversations. But tonight, it was different. There was urgency in his words, a kind of quiet desperation. It wasn't about childish needs anymore. It was deeper, emotional. It's almost like he was reaching for a kind of intimacy only she could give. She swallowed and took a slow breath. "I understand, Ethan. I want that too. That closeness. I think maybe we're both realizing how important it is to stay connected." The room fell silent. Outside, the wind rustled the leaves, and the shadows of the trees flickered across the living room floor. Claire could feel the shift between them, subtle but undeniable. The bond they had always shared was changing, evolving into something more complex. It was tender, emotional, and slightly frightening. Ethan finally looked up at her, his eyes glistening with emotion. "Mom, promise me something," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Claire's heart raced. She nodded, encouraging him gently. "What is it, Ethan?" He hesitated, then looked straight at her with intensity. "Promise me. We won't lose this us, no matter what happens." Tears pricked her eyes, though she blinked them back. She nodded again, the lump in her throat making it hard to speak. "I promise," she whispered. They sat side by side, the quiet of the house wrapping around them like a blanket. Neither spoke, but each felt the weight of what had just been shared. It was a moment suspended in time, fragile and powerful, an emotional bridge stretching between their hearts. Claire realized that life had handed them something delicate, a chance to connect on a level they hadn't fully understood before. She thought back to earlier in the evening, to the laughter and chatter around the dinner table. Everyone had been joking, sharing stories, the usual warmth of family togetherness. Yet now, after the noise had faded, the house was quieter, and the silence had revealed a deeper layer of truth. Ethan's feelings weren't just a phase. They were real, nuanced, and full of emotion. Claire's thoughts wandered, reflecting on the years she had watched him grow. She remembered the first day of school, the late-night conversations, the times he had needed comfort. And now, here he was, almost a man, yet still needing her in a way that felt both ordinary and extraordinary. It was a mix of pride, love, and an ache she couldn't quite name. Ethan shifted slightly, breaking the stillness. "Mom, do you ever think maybe we're meant to be closer than just family? I mean, not in a bad way, but in a way that matters deeply." Claire felt her breath catch. She nodded slowly, not knowing how else to respond. The truth was there, unspoken but undeniable. The bond between them was evolving into something more intimate, emotional, and profound. She didn't fully understand it yet, but she felt it in the way her chest tightened, the way her heart raced, the way the quiet seemed charged with electricity. They sat in silence again, both lost in their own thoughts. Outside, the night deepened, stars twinkling faintly in the sky. Claire felt a strange mixture of fear and hope. Fear because the world was changing and she wasn't sure where this path would lead. Hope because, for the first time in a long while, she felt truly seen, truly connected to her son in a way that transcended ordinary affection. Ethan broke the silence once more, his voice low and serious. "Mom, I don't want things to go back to how they were. I want this closeness, this understanding. I want us to really see each other." Claire nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "Me too, Ethan. I want that too." The clock ticked quietly, the sound blending with the faint wind outside. They sat together, side by side, and for the first time in a long time, the house felt like more than just walls and furniture. It felt like a sanctuary, a place where emotions could be felt freely, where words could be left unspoken yet understood. For a long while, neither of them moved. Claire could feel Ethan's presence as a comforting weight beside her. She realized that this night had changed something in both of them. The ordinary, predictable world of parent and child had shifted. Something deeper, more emotional, and profoundly human had begun to take shape. Finally, Claire whispered, "We'll figure it out, Ethan, together." He nodded, a small, hopeful smile crossing his face. "Together," he echoed. Outside, the wind continued to rustle the leaves, the streetlights casting long shadows across the living room. Inside, the quiet carried a different weight now. It wasn't just silence. It was understanding, connection, and the first steps toward a new kind of closeness neither had anticipated. The night stretched on, and they remained side by side, hearts quietly speaking to one another. It was the kind of moment that would linger, a turning point neither could ignore. And as the house settled into deeper stillness, Claire knew that everything had changed. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it felt like they were walking it together, with honesty, openness, and a fragile, beautiful understanding. The next morning, sunlight poured through the kitchen windows, filling the room with a warm glow. Claire moved quietly, making coffee while trying to keep her mind focused on the ordinary tasks of the day. But the memory of last night refused to leave her. Ethan's words, soft but filled with intensity, echoed in her mind. Even in the brightness of morning, she could feel the lingering weight of their conversation, like a gentle vibration beneath her chest. She poured the coffee into mugs and glanced at the living room. The couch where Ethan had sat seemed empty now, yet it felt as though he had left an invisible trace behind. She shook her head with a small smile. Teenagers moved fast, she reminded herself, and perhaps he had already moved on from last night. But deep down, she knew the truth. Something had shifted between them. It was subtle, like the way the light changes when the sun rises. But undeniable. Ethan returned from school that afternoon with a backpack slung over one shoulder. He was laughing at something his friend had said on the phone. And yet, when he saw Claire in the kitchen, his expression softened. The intensity of last night had not vanished. It was still there, hidden beneath his casual demeanor. He approached her with a small, almost shy smile, and she felt her heart flutter unexpectedly. "Hey, Mom," he said, setting down his backpack. "I missed you today." Claire felt warmth spread through her chest. She laughed softly, trying to hide the flutter of emotion in her voice. "I missed you too, Ethan. How was school?" He shrugged, leaning casually against the counter. "Normal. Nothing too exciting." But his eyes betrayed him. They were bright, searching, as if he wanted to share something more, something unspoken. Claire noticed the subtle shift in his posture, the way he lingered a little longer than necessary, the way his gaze found hers repeatedly. The evening settled in with a quiet calm. Claire prepared dinner while Ethan helped in small ways, passing utensils, setting plates, and occasionally exchanging a glance that carried more than words. They spoke casually about school, friends, and the ordinary rhythm of life. Yet underneath it all, a subtle tension lingered. Every touch, every glance seemed to carry unspoken meaning. After dinner, the house settled into quiet again. The rest of the family had gone out for errands, leaving Claire and Ethan alone once more. They sat together on the porch, the sky painted in shades of lavender and gold as the sun dipped behind distant trees. The air was cool and fragrant. Carrying the faint scent of flowers from the garden, Ethan shifted slightly, looking down at his hands, then back at Claire. "Mom, last night made me realize something." Claire's heart caught. She leaned back slightly, curious but cautious. "What is it?" He hesitated, then spoke with a quiet earnestness. "I need you, in a way I didn't know before. And I think maybe you feel it too." Her breath caught, but she nodded slowly. She had felt the undeniable closeness, the quiet pull between them. It was emotional, tender, and completely human. It was the kind of connection that went beyond words, beyond ordinary affection, and deep into the heart. Ethan reached out, and she instinctively took his hand. The contact was brief but electric in its simplicity. It wasn't a romantic gesture in any explicit way. It was a shared understanding, a recognition of trust and emotional vulnerability. They sat side by side, letting the quiet stretch between them, feeling the pull of something more profound than either had named. "I don't want things to go back to the way they were before," Ethan said softly. "I want this us, the closeness, the honesty, everything." Claire swallowed, a mixture of fear and hope twisting inside her. "Me too, Ethan," she admitted. "Me too." The night deepened around them, the sky fading into deep indigo as stars began to appear. The porch lights cast a warm glow, highlighting the gentle expressions on their faces. In that quiet, they didn't need to speak more. Words had already done their work. The unspoken understanding between them was enough. Claire thought about the years she'd spent raising Ethan, the nights of worry, the days of laughter, the small milestones she had cherished. And now, here he was, almost a man, yet still needing her in ways that went beyond physical care. He needed emotional connection, guidance, and someone to understand him fully. And in that moment, she realized that she wanted the same thing, to understand him, to be present in a way that mattered, to protect and cherish the bond they shared. As the days passed, this new rhythm continued. Claire noticed subtle changes in their interactions, how Ethan would linger in the room when she was nearby, how their conversations sometimes stretched longer than usual, how shared silences felt comforting instead of empty. She felt the pull of something tender and rare, an emotional intimacy that seemed to grow naturally, quietly, and profoundly. Ethan began to confide in her more than ever. He spoke of his dreams, his fears, and even small frustrations that seemed too trivial to share with anyone else. Claire listened, her heart full, sometimes laughing at his observations, sometimes offering gentle advice. Every moment they spent together seemed to deepen their bond. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes the emotions ran deep and left them both thoughtful, almost breathless with the weight of feeling. One evening, as rain softly tapped against the windows, they sat together in the living room, each with a book in hand. The sound of the rain was soothing, and for a while they read in companionable silence. Then Ethan put down his book and looked at her, his expression serious yet vulnerable. "Mom, do you ever wonder if feelings like this are supposed to happen?" Claire's heart skipped. She put down her book and gave him her full attention. "What do you mean, Ethan?" "I mean, the way we connect, the way I feel around you now, it's not like before. It's more. I don't know if it's right or normal or anything like that." Claire reached out and took his hand, squeezing it gently. "Feelings are complicated, Ethan. What matters is that we care for each other, understand each other, and stay connected. That's what's important. The rest, we figure out as we go." He nodded, a small smile crossing his face. There was relief there, but also a new determination, a hope that they could navigate this together. Claire realized that this was a turning point, a moment where trust and honesty defined the next chapter of their lives. Over the following weeks, they found ways to stay close. Shared breakfasts, quiet walks in the evening, and long talks on the porch became a routine. It wasn't forced. It was natural, flowing from the depth of their emotional bond. They discovered a rhythm that brought comfort and joy, even as the world around them carried its usual chaos. Claire noticed that she was more attentive, more patient, more tuned into the small details of Ethan's life. And Ethan, in turn, was more open, more willing to share his thoughts and feelings. Their relationship had matured, deepened, and taken on a richness neither had anticipated. One night, as they sat on the porch together, the sky a deep shade of midnight blue, Ethan spoke again. "Mom, I feel safe with you. Not just because you protect me, but because you understand me. You see me? Really see me?" Claire felt tears prick her eyes. "I see you, Ethan, always, and I always will." They sat in silence, the only sound the gentle rustling of leaves and the occasional distant car passing by. There was no rush, no urgency, only the quiet understanding that they had found something rare, connection that was honest, tender, and enduring. And yet, even as they sat there, Claire knew that the path ahead wouldn't always be easy. Emotions could be messy, feelings could shift, and life could throw unexpected challenges their way. But for now, in this quiet moment, they had each other. That was enough. As the stars shimmered above, Claire felt a deep sense of peace. She realized that love and connection could take many forms, that family bonds could evolve, and that emotional intimacy, pure, honest, and heartfelt, was one of the most powerful forces in life. Ethan leaned back, resting his head against the porch railing. Claire watched him, feeling a profound sense of pride and tenderness. "We'll face everything together," she whispered to herself, and perhaps to him, too. He turned to her with a small, content smile. "Together," he said softly, echoing the words from months before, but now with more certainty, more understanding. And as the night deepened, filled with the quiet songs of crickets and the faint glow of the porch light, they remained side by side, hearts connected, sharing a bond that was as enduring as it was tender. It was a closeness born of trust, honesty, and love, the kind of love that shaped lives, strengthened souls, and remains steadfast even in the quietest, simplest moments. For tonight, and many nights to come, they had each other. And sometimes that was everything.